All right, Jerry. I noticed there for anyone watching the video, they might see, it was me under the weather last week. You're feeling a bit under the weather this week. So I'm not gonna ask you to sing along to this one. I know you're going to end up singing, but I'll be able to take this for both of us this week, okay? Are you ready to do this though?
Yeah, go ahead because you've already ruined Star Wars for me. So go ahead.
Let's do it. Oh yeah. You're gonna sing it eventually. Everyone at home singing it in their heads. Let's go. Star Jazz, it's fucking Star Jazz, Jazz talking Star Wars, Jerry and Jerry, yeah! Because, ladies and gentlemen, a long time ago, well, this is recorded on Monday evening, in a galaxy far, far away, recorded on Zoom, by way of Dublin 4, two people named Jer talked about Star Wars. It's not a very complicated concept, but they call it Star Jazz. Every week here on page 180 for the duration of The Mandalorian, myself, Jared Leggett, being joined, as always, by my partner in Star Wars crime, the one and only Jerry Soul. Jerry, how are you feeling?
I like shit. You gave me your man flu from last week, so I'm suffering from that now.
Oh,
Worst part is I work from home now, so I can't even get out of work.
I
You know,
know.
that's the thing
Yeah,
about it.
you can't use the whole like, oh, I don't want to make anyone else sick. That's grand. Just stay at home and work later, if anything, because you've nowhere else. You can't go
Yeah,
out. You can't do anything else. I know the joys. Well, look, hope to kind of
yeah.
give you a break from the sickness now, and I hope make you feel a little bit better. I have to say, I felt a lot better chatting to you. It kind of took my mind off, my hay fever bollocks last week. So hopefully I can return the favor here for you now, because we're going to talk about the Mandalorian. We're going to have a double kind of dose of Star Wars this week. We're going to talk the Mandalorian chapter 21, and then obviously for anyone who follows along at the end, we're going to talk about the Bad Batch. It was the season finale last week, so we're going to be breaking down some of the big higher level points from that. But first, a spoiler warning, guys. Everything Star Wars is on the table here because it's a Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau show. This is the kind of ship they run where anyone can show up at any time, and there, especially this week, that was the case. So we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to do a general spoiler warning for all of Star Wars. If you haven't watched the likes of Clone Wars, Rebels, the cartoon shows, and stuff like that as well, we will discuss it. But the goal is to just enhance your enjoyment of it. We're not going to get in depth about plot points to kind of ruin the shows on you. We just want to kind of make you understand, help you understand if there's something that's happening that you may not have picked up on as well, and use our knowledge to kind of bolster your experience of the show. Anyway, with that said, we're going to talk about the episode, but first, what we're going to do, as we always do, to put ourselves back into the mode, is we're going to recap what happens with our alt recap for chapter 21 of The Mandalorian, named The Pirate. Meanwhile, in Navarro, a planet that seems, by the way, did you notice this, to have a population of around 12 people, by the way. I don't know why they ever thought they were going to defend themselves. It turns out pirates don't like being murdered, as Oscar the Grouch, sorry, I meant Gorian Shard, attacked. In desperate trouble, Grief Karga turned to the New Republic for help, apparently, now including freaking Zeb from Rebels, amazing, Carabast. Can we please see that he's living happily and loved up with Callus next? That's all I want to see, just the two of them, like, shacked up and living a happy life. Unfortunately, the New Republic are about as efficient at fighting crime as the Irish Republic are at building homes, so he pretty much gets laughed at. This forces Captain Teva to visit the covert where R5 ratted out their location. Don't you know that Din has trust issues, R5? What have you done? Din makes the case that it's time for the Mandalorians to live back in the light and not hide away, before Paz Vizsla makes a speech agreeing with him and does the move that can't fail by ending it with "this is the way," which they have to agree with. If anyone says this is the way, they have to go, "This is the way."
This is the way.
I'll give you an example. Jerry, you're going to revolute me €50 right now. This is the way.
This is the way.
There you go. It's can't move. It's can't fail move. A battle commences anyway. Navarro is Vane, who looks like a pirate Voldemort. Do you know what you call a pirate Voldemort, by the way? Voldemort chases Mando. The pirates gain an advantage on the ground until the armor channels Triple H with her hammer, turning the tide. Vane sees this and makes like a Christian and bailed, leaving Gorian to be taken down to win the day. Karga tells the covert they may not have a planet, but they do have a home, which is a really weird thing to say, delivering good news while digging the knife in. It's like saying, well, your granny might be dead, but I'll be your friend. Like, you don't have to mention the part where it's like, at least you don't have a planet. That's totally irrelevant. The armorer summons bo-katan to the old forge, tells her to take off her helmet, and says that she's the only one to unify and restore Mandalore because she's seen a mythosaur and walked in both worlds, whatever that means. It's like the old phrase, the friend of my enemy is my leader. I don't know if you've thought this through, really, Armor. It was a bit, and we'll parse that apart. Meanwhile, while flying back home, Teva discovers that Moff Gideon has been broken out of a New Republic prison ship filled with bodies and Beskar, implying some Mandalore involvement in his escape. Ooh, to be continued. Really, right, okay. Let's get to discussing the episode, because we spoke last week, and we'll parse into the individual plot points as we go on, but just kind of a high level view. We spoke last week of we're entering the back half of the season, and we have all this kind of stuff to go, and like, we're hoping that now it'd start clicking into gear. This has definitely kind of given us a more full shape of what the overarching theme of the season is and so on. So, Jerry, your thoughts about episode 21? Is the Mandalorian back on track, or how did you feel about the episode in general?
I very much back on track. This was just fantastic, just start to finish, action packed. It's exactly what we expect from the Mandalorian. Or sorry, it's exactly what we expect from Bo-Katan featuring the Mandalorian. This week was just fantastic. It brings you back to those kind of really high action, tense episodes from season 1, season 2. It really brought out the, like, kind of what you were saying last week, or the last couple of weeks, is that the Mandalorian's kind of a lot of L's lately. This was a definite W for them. This was fantastic, and it just goes to show you how good Mandalorians actually are. Really great episode. I need to touch on one thing, though. One thing specifically about this episode. The armor needs to piss off with the fucking hammer and get a blaster. Stop acting the bollocks. Okay? I'm sorry. She just walks around with a hammer. Someone's going to take her fucking head off one of these days. And it's stop acting the bollocks. Yeah. Start to finish, absolutely amazing. I don't mean get too much into it, because I know we're going to discuss it, but Jesus, there was nothing bad about this episode. Yes. Like, there are some episodes you're like, oh, that wasn't that good. No, Jesus, start to finish, this was fantastic. Give me 10 of these and I'd be happy. 10 of these episodes, I'd be happy. They were amazing. Absolutely amazing.
For me, this was the best chapter of the season so far. And because again, it hasn't been that season 3 of The Mandalorian has been bad. It's just been uneven, and it hasn't really settled, if that makes sense. There's been some high highlights, and there's been some kind of confusing bits in the middle, and we just didn't know where it was all going, because again, we're kind of, for the first time in The Mandalorian, we're flying without a path necessarily in sight, because since episode 1, it's been about Mando trying to return Grogu back to his home, and that's happened. We've got to the end of the initial reason for the Mandalorian existing, and again, now they have to kind of reinvent itself, and they're doing that. But for me, this is where it felt like the Mandalorian again. I felt properly, it had the perfect balance between, we had our adventure of the week, we had the battle episode, we had cameos, I definitely want to talk about that, and we had the kind of plot boost in lore as well. Like, it's kind of playing the hits for Filoni and Favreau, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. First off, though, we're huge Star Wars Rebels fans. Like, it's possibly my favorite flavor of Star Wars, though Andor is kind of creeping up there after season 1, but Star Wars Rebels has a very special place in my heart. We got, for the first time in this episode, and we know that it's coming, because essentially the Ahsoka series that's coming up later in the year, all signs point to that being a live action Rebels remake. We got our first cameo from Star Wars Rebels in this. For anyone who didn't realize, Zeb Orrelios was the guy that talked to Captain Teva at the bar when he was basically saying, look, the New Republic aren't going to help you here. That was Zeb, one of a really beloved character from Star Wars Rebels. For anyone who hasn't, and for me, I'm going to be honest, I reacted for this almost as enthusiastically as I did when Luke Skywalker showed up, because I just didn't expect it. It was so fucking cool. But Jerry, kind of for anyone who may not have watched Rebels, how would you describe Zeb to people? How would you kind of give a bit of backstory around who is Zeb?
Oh, that's actually quite a tough question. I haven't watched Rebels for a while, so it's a tough one to try and categorize. But
Sorry to try
let's
and
say, okay, so he's kind of like Rebels version of Chewbacca. Basically,
yes.
he's the muscle, but the fact that he talks as well, and he talks with this lovely, it's kind of Australian
Yeah.
accent, I guess. He is kind of, he thought he was one of the last ones of his race,
Lestat.
and then they actually found more in the show, which was fucking fantastic.
Ah,
Seeing him there, obviously confirmed to us that he is going to be in Ahsoka, because there was no confirmation of exactly who was going to be in. We knew, Syndulla. What's her first name? I can't never remember her
Hera.
first name. Yeah, there you. We knew
Hera,
she was going to be in it.
Sabine. We know they're going to be there.
We knew they
Chopper,
were going to be in
definitely.
it. Chopper definitely, and we knew obviously Ahsoka was going to be in it, but there was no confirmation about Zeb. And I said to myself, how are they going to do Zeb? Because Zeb's big. He's a big guy, and he's like, his race are huge. Like Wookiees, they're absolutely huge. But do you do it in the sense of like a Wookiee, like somebody really tall, but then with maybe stilts as well to make them huge, or the way they did it was obviously a bit of both. There was obviously CGI involved.
Mm.
But he just, to go from cartoon to live action. Now, obviously, I know there's trickery involved, but he looked amazing,
Yes.
and it was one of those holy shit moments. It really was, because he was less than 30 seconds on the screen, but you're like, oh God, oh okay, right, we're going to have a for him now. Oh sweet Jesus, oh my God, yes, all of it, absolutely all of it. Like when you see the camera panning down to this kind of New Republic, like a fucking station, I suppose. They're all sunning themselves on the beach. Let's be honest, because that's what.
Yeah.
So some of them are at the bar, some are on the beach. But you've got X wings, Y wings. It's like, oh, what's this? I hadn't a clue what it was. So I was like, look at this. Oh, this is fun. Oh, where are we going here? Of course, you go and see our lovely captain. I love him. I think he's
He's great.
fantastic.
He's great.
He's fast becoming a great character in this. He really, really is.
Yeah.
And to see him with Zeb, then he obviously gets the message about the pirates, and he was like, "Oh fuck, we need to do something about this." Zeb comes along, "Oh yeah, well, good luck with that. You're not going to get any help there." That's basically what it was. He was basically saying, "Yeah, you're not going to get any help." So,
Yeah.
Now I was half expecting him to go back and appeal to the people that were there and say, "Listen, can you help me? Let's go. Let's go and help the Mandalorians and do the trick," But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I think if we had, it would have been too much, Zeb.
Yeah.
And that's going to sound strange, because all I want to do is see Zeb, but for this, it would have been too much.
Yeah.
The small little cameo was just enough, and it was just enough to get the juices flowing, because we're going to see him in another show. Oh Jesus, this is going to be great. Absolutely fantastic. It was they knocked it out of the park with this one. The fact that they've got, I can't remember the guy's name, voice actor that played him in the show.
Steve Blum.
And it was confirmed in the credits as well that it is Zeb. It's not just a random person. It is Zeb. There we go. We're rocking. We are absolutely rocking. And then to go from that point into the rest of the episode,
it's so good. I like, one thing that I found interesting, and it was a really good way. I think we could talk a lot about, we could probably do the whole episode talking about how incompetent the New Republic is now. And I think we'll just punt on that for the time being, because I think we'll get to circle back to it later on, because again, like it's kind of, we need to go in depth if we're going to at all. But I found one really effective way and a really good Easter egg. So for anyone who doesn't know, like we were saying there, Zeb Lasat kind of is a species. When we meet him, he is grouchy. He is the kind of main character of Rebels. Ezra, Star Wars Harry Potter, is
spot on.
He really is. So when we meet Ezra first, like, Zeb hates Ezra. He thinks he's a little shit. He's not a team player. He's kind of out for himself quite a lot. He's quite cynical. He's quite hurt before. And we go on this beautiful journey with him where he kind of learns to accept his found family in the Rebels crew. And kind of, again, we spoke about kind of, he has this relationship with Callus, where I think a lot of people shift them and want them to, Callus is kind of, he's a former kind of Imperial captain who actually ends up kind of coming good after kind of bonding with Zeb just through friendship, and kind of turn around and becoming a mole for the Rebels crew and the rebellion. But what I thought was a really effective way of showing the New Republic's incompetence and how, like, now we're kind of seeing, like, how did the First Order kind of rise from the ashes of the Empire and the New Republic taking over. And what we're seeing in this episode is it's apathy. It is people not believing in the New Republic now. And you can see that in Zeb. It's really kind of as happy as we were to see him. When you think about it and step back a little bit, it's really sad that Zeb is now really cynical. And he's like, you're not going to get any help. They're little shits. You know what I mean? And now he's fighting for the New Republic. That's his team now, essentially. He's not part of the rebel crew anymore. He's New Republic. But again, he's like, nah, you're not going to get any help. They're useless. Like, you know, and that's where he's gone back to. And that's a really sad kind of character turn for him and damning. And it tells a lot. But again, like I said, this is 30 seconds. It's a little tiny cameo we got, but we got to learn a lot from it. We'll get to the kind of adventure of the week. So we had the big pirate battle. What were your thoughts on that? Of course, we had Voldemort, Vane in there, and we had kind of, you know, Gory and Shard as well, Oscar the Grouch, which again, like he's such a Disney looking villain. What were your thoughts on the pirate battle and kind of everything we saw there? Again, like you say, finally the Mandalorians get a W.
Finally, they get a W. So you've got two different elements of the battle. You've got the aerial battle that was going on. Obviously, Din being Din and just knocking the bollocks out of fighters as he does. Then you've got the ground battle, and I thought the ground battle was something completely different. Yeah. We haven't seen the Mandalorians fight like this in season 1, when they actually rescued Din from Grief Karga, which of course High Magistrate Grief Karga. You know, the battle, you're looking at them walking along, you're looking at them kind of looking around. They've already killed a few pirates. And you're like, please don't die. Please don't die, please. And then he's like, behind us, and they start shooting, so they're getting shot from all sides. Then, of course, the big Vizsla lad comes in. Say hello to my little friend. That's literally what I say hello to my little friend. Start really knocking the shit out of him. And then we get the up kind of on top of the building, we've got that big cannon, and it is, you know, knocking the shit out of them. And of course, someone with a hammer comes along. So, it's Thor. It's the mighty Thor. Come to help us. No, it's just the fucking armorer, thinking she's all fucking shit hot because she has a hammer. Now, was the sequence cool? Yes, it was. Of course it was, because it's the armorer with a fucking hammer. It is, to me, it's like, come on, okay. It's starting to get a bit silly now because someone is going to shoot her. It has to happen. Someone's going to shoot her. But the whole sequence of the Mandalorians actually coming in, I love the fact that every one of them have jetpacks. Yeah. They've all got jetpack. Actually, well, I don't know about the armor. Actually, we've never seen them with a jetpack.
No, actually, that's good too. How did she get down?
She's Thor. She used the hammer. Here you go.
Yeah, just flies down. Yeah, you don't need to when you're the God of Thunder, of course.
There you go. So the whole lot, like even the stuff with the ship, and you see the people coming back. You know, the Mandalorians are chasing the pirates out. The people come back and they're all pointing guns, but clearly never shot a gun in their fucking life apart from Grief Karga. And you think, oh, well, the ship is actually going to shoot them all now. And it did get really close. That last sequence of Bobo and Din just going like that, and they missed each other by literally inches, but they blow the crap out of the ship. One thing I will say is that ship, so the pirate ship, it's a fantastic looking ship, very Star Wars, very, very Star Wars. It was almost like a combination of a few different ships, maybe a little bit of a Star Destroyer, a little bit of a Corvette in there, and a little bit of a Hammerhead from the Old Republic that we would have seen in Jesus, Rogue One.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of all that put together. It looked fantastic, I thought. At one point, I thought maybe they're going to rob this. Maybe that'll be the Mandalorians' like command ship. Obviously, that didn't happen. It would have been really cool to see that. The action for this, I think, was a good half an hour of action.
Yeah.
It was the best for the entire season so far. Do I think it's going to be the best for the rest of the season? We'll have to wait and see. I definitely see a lot more action coming in the next 3 episodes because there's a lot to come. But for this episode, it was exactly what we all needed because we've all thought it's a bit slow.
Yeah,
it's a bit slow this season. But let's be honest. We talked about this episode. We thought what could potentially happen. We were nearly spot on with what happened.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you had said to me during the week, Jesus, Jerry, you must be delighted that you got it right. It actually wasn't me. I didn't get most of this right. You did. You actually got the Din going to help them, the Mandalorians helping them, and drive away the pirates. You got that. I didn't get that. You got that. So this was a W for us. Well, more you, but fuck you.
Teamwork. No, it's teamwork. We're the Star GERS.
Star GERS. Teamwork makes the dream work. It was exactly what we needed. We've had, what was this, the 5th episode now?
Yeah. So 3 more.
Episode. So 5th episode, we hadn't seen that much action apart from, driving off or killing a giant alligator or killing a giant dragon or whatever it may be. We haven't had that much action. This was exactly what we needed to get us right into the mix and to get us right, we've got 3 episodes left. It's going to be like this now. We might have one more episode where it slows down, but I definitely think it's starting to amp up now because lots more needs to happen. But a lot, you see, I talked to a friend of mine during the week and he said that was very much a filler episode. Not much happened. I said, are you crazy? I said, are you actually crazy? I said, there's no way. I said, this episode, you learned loads in this episode. What we were just talking about there is the ineptitude, I suppose, of the New Republic. You look at what happened 2 weeks ago when we had that episode where it was on Coruscant. You hear that the fleet is getting disassembled. So the New Republic fleet is gone. Mm-hmm. You then see all these politicians basically trying to encourage that our dear doctor to come with them. So clearly there's still corruption. It doesn't matter if the Empire is there or not, still corruption.
Yeah.
And now this week we see, they haven't signed the charter. Oh, well, we can't really help them.
Yeah.
If this was during the original trilogy, like, where is it? Like, many ships have we got? Yeah, fuck it, we'll take them all.
Yeah.
Let's just go. We have to help them. And now it's like, we can't really do it.
And then you have Elia Kane, like kind of implying, well, maybe it's a good thing. And like talking pure, like Teva called it out. It's like, that's pure Imperial speak. And not only did they not like chastise her for it, but when Teva points that out, they shut him down. And it's like, oh my God, you're so far gone. Like, this is not what we fought for. Yeah. And I know they're taking apart like the original trilogy. And I know there's some people who are upset by that. Jedis ain't shit these days. And like kind of now look like everything that Luke and all fought for actually came to mean nothing. But also it is an interesting wrinkle of what it's like kind of getting people out of power versus being in power. And I think that's something where we're far from done from that yet. There was a reason that we had a pretty much episode of Andor just following the New Republic and what they're like these days, because there is a lot to mine from there. And I feel we'll get to that. But one thing I want to kind of talk about is bo-katan became boss-katan in this episode because she walks in both worlds, whatever that means. For me, if I'm Din, I'm like, what the fuck, lads? Let's look at the title of the tape for who should be the boss in here, right? Din Djarin, okay, holds the Darksaber, stopped Moff Gideon, has made alliances with the likes of Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and Cobb Vanth and Tatooine. Also, the Jedi Order, what remains of them, also has an alliance with them, has discovered Mandalore is inhabitable, has secured land in Navarro to bring the Mandalorians back into the light. And all of that is what Din's done. Bo has rescued one child and saw a mythosaur. Like, what the fuck? Din must be sitting there like, what the hell? And he nods. He signs off on it. No. I don't think he wants to be the leader. He's got that Jon Snow. I don't want it. He does have that vibe. But like, so I do understand it. But at the same time, it's like, come on. The thing I have to ask though is, and we will, I want to talk about kind of what we learned at the end with Moff Gideon and stuff like that as well. But we'll kind of discuss that separately. Is this something that people are going to regret, though? Because we are following, and you're right in pointing out that bo-katan for the past couple of episodes has been the main character, and Din and Grogu are kind of just taking a backseat. I don't think it's going to stay that way, but we kind of spoke at the start of the season about whether there was kind of a clash due. Do you feel that that's more or less likely now after this episode, or kind of, is bo-katan kind of probably a good leader, or is it kind of something where we've seen bo-katan is a good character, but then when she steps into positions of leadership, that's when things start to fall apart? And kind of the armorer, before she made this decision, made that point to Din Djarin. So where do you feel this is going? Is it going to be something they regret, or is it going to be the right move?
I think it's the right move, and I'll tell you why. I know you said She saved one child and she saw him at the store. But when you really look at it, she's done a lot more than that. She saved Din twice in one episode. Saved him twice. She led. She all the Mandalorians would have given up on Vizsla's child if it wasn't for her. And she went. Yeah, she went. Yeah, fuck's sake. She went and she planned everything. She found out where the nest was and she rescued the child. Then she was the one, it wasn't Din that did it. She was the one that led the attack against the pirates. She did all of that. So she's shown true leadership quality now. And that's why the armor did what she did. That's why the armor said, you can remove your helmet. You can, let's be honest, you can go between both worlds. And that's what is needed. And we both said this, is that there's only one way Mandalore comes back, and that's if everybody is back together. It's not just one group or the other. It's everybody has to come back together. 1,000,000%. It's a good thing. She has shown her true leadership qualities. By the end of this, I believe she will be the leader of the Mandalorians. There is one thing that's up in the air, and exactly how it comes to pass. How does she get the Darksaber? Because let's be honest, he doesn't want to be a leader. He doesn't want to be a Mandalore leading all these Mandalorians. He is very much a solo person. Likes being part of this covert, obviously, because it's his family. They brought him up. They did everything for him. But he's very much a solo person, with obviously exceptions of Grogu. Grogu's his son, basically. That's the way it is. And it's very clear he wants to train Grogu as well in the ways of the Mandalorians. But he doesn't want to be a leader. He doesn't want to be this guy who is basically the ruler of Mandalore. He doesn't want that. We would lose. Would be no show then if he was the leader of the Mandalorians, because it would be just him sitting on the planet signing requisition. Oh, requisition this for that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks very much. And sitting on the throne like fucking thing. That would be ridiculous. He needs to be the adventurer. She needs to be the leader, and it's very much gearing up to be that. Exactly how we get there, I don't know. We have theorized exactly who we've seen a mythosaur. Surely we're going to see a mythosaur again, or the mythosaur again. I think the armor pointed it out in this episode, and it was I think it was very telling for what's to come. The last time a mythosaur was seen was when there was great change, and the Mandalorians only grew bigger and better because of it. Now we've seen the mythosaur. She knows we have to go back to Mandalore. We have to retake Mandalore. We're going to see something big. Something big is coming here. The only question again in my mind, how did she get the Darksaber? Because she even said it at the start of the show. Bo-Katan said it, she don't have the Darksaber, so my followers left. So to get her followers back, she needs the Darksaber. But what happened when she had the Darksaber last time? It was gifted to her, and they're saying that's where the bad luck came from. They're saying that's why Mandalore fell, and that's why Mandalore was destroyed, and that's where they're scattered to the four corners of the galaxy. How does she get it back without him handing it to her? Because she refused it. You remember the last episode of season 2, she refused it. She's like, I can't take it. And even Moff Gideon was like, she's not going to take that. She has to win it. She has to win it. And that's where the animosity is. Well, that's why we're going to see a fight here. But he's been with her every step of this journey. She's been with him. She's rescued him twice. She could have let him die and taken the Darksaber down. I think that, that might have been allowed. But she didn't. She saved him twice. So I definitely believe it's a good thing. I definitely believe she is the leader that they need. I just feel that the armor has had a big turnaround with regards to her. The armor, you can take your helmet off and I won't tell you to leave. What? No one else is allowed to do that. No, because they're bringing it's like worlds coming together. It's what's needed. I just think we're in for some more madness over the next 3 episodes. I think the next one will be more or less lining up 2 episodes go. Do you remember how they rescued Grogu in the last series? It was like 2 or 3 episodes setting up the finale, and that's how this is going to be.
Get the gang all together for the finale.
Exactly.
I like your optimism, and I want your optimism to be the case, because I like Bo-Katan, and I've liked how she's just stayed a good person, and she's kind of learned and she's grown as a character. So I want that to be true. I'm a little bit more cynical of a couple of things and just worried about it. First off, I'm very part of the team of this season is that absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. We're seeing it with the New Republic. Not that they're corrupt, but they're almost being corrupted by like having the likes of Elia Kane gain positions of influence, and they're kind of being corrupted through their apathy and just being unable to kind of handle the task. And kind of again, we have to see what does bo-katan, what sacrifices does she have to make to get everyone back on side? How can she do that? What is the cost? Those kind of things will be the question that bo-katan will have to face as well. I'm also very cynical of the armorer's intentions as well, because she's saying everyone needs to walk the way and you're the person to unite it. So what does she mean by that? Does she mean that you have to then get everyone and convince them to put their helmets back on and walk our way? Because that's what the way is to them. It's their way, and they're kind of essentially a fundamentalist cult. You know, does she want them? Is she basically empowering bo-katan, but on her behalf, like win followers over to my way of thinking? You know, and I'm very kind of, I don't know. I think there's a bit of road to go, and I think the Darksaber being there and the Darksaber being the reason that her followers abandoned her, I think that's the thing, because again, like she can't prove whether the armor believes her or not. That's enough to convince. If the armor believes her, that's enough to convince her, the armor's people. It's not enough to convince the Sasha Banks and the people that were with her last time, because they think the armor's a whack job anyway. You know, so and again, like she can't just go out and say, I've seen a mythosaur. The Darksaber having it there is a symbol of power, and it's the reason that the people like left her essentially. So I don't know if she has a compelling case to make to those people. And I think that's where there's a risk of tension, which is obviously not what we want, because we like bo-katan, but it definitely does make a more interesting TV show. So it's probably going to go something like that. We shall see anyway. I don't know. Yeah. Another wrinkle at the end of the episode, obviously, we saw that Moff Gideon had been broken out of the prison ship. Not a complete surprise to us, something you've been calling for the past while. But one thing that none of us called was that there was Beskar found there. The immediate conclusion that the New Republic, not the strongest investigative detectives, admittedly, came to is like, oh yeah, the Mandalorians obviously helped them. There's no actual evidence of that. It's literally Beskar. Anything could have happened. There could have been a battle there where they tried to kill him, and it just went awry or whatever. But what is your takeaway or theories based off Moff Gideon being there out there again, and some Mandalorian involvement, whatever that may be?
There is 100%. Obviously, Beskar is very much Mandalorian. Okay, we know that, right? But for me, there's three trains of thought here, and I don't know which one might fit it. Now, we could be completely wrong. Okay, not three, but there's a couple of trains of thought. Number one is purposely to implicate the Mandalorians in this, so that the New Republic would go after the Mandalorians. That's one thing. Now, will it work? They'll have if that was the case, they'd have a little fight, and then they'd realize they were being used by the Imperial Remnant. And that would be that. And then they join up together and then fight off. Okay. Second one for me is the Dark Troopers that he had in Series 2 were made from Beskar. So this could be some of his own forces coming in and rescuing him with more Dark Troopers that we don't know about. Now, I think that one's kind of low down. That's not very likely, but it's another theory. You know, it's another theory. Another one is, and I think this possibly might be the most likely, and I like the idea of it, is that during Rebels, we had two different types of Mandalorian. You had the loyalist Mandalorians to Mandalore, to their way of life, and then you had the Imperial Mandalorians. Now, we don't know what happened to them. Where are they? We don't know what happened to them. It could be potentially them rescuing him. Because one thing I have thought about for a while now, and I found it very interesting, is that you've got all this Beskar that's been floating around, you know, the Imperial Beskar that they had. You've got Moff Gideon, who seems obsessed with Mandalorians and whatnot, and he has the Darksaber. Who's to say that Moff Gideon wasn't one of these loyal Mandalorians? That's a big possibility, and I just feel that could be where we're going here. Now, we're not. Listen, we're not always right with our predictions, And I'm actually happy sometimes when we're not right
Yeah.
and something completely different. But I definitely think one of those options. Another one was for me, could it have been Sabine? Because we're getting a bit of a flavor of Rebels here. Could have been
Mm.
Sabine getting them. But I think even that,
It would have been
that's even
colorful.
less likely.
Yeah, like if it was
Yeah,
Sabine branded everything she did. That was Sabine's an artist for anyone who doesn't know. Like even her gear,
yeah,
she's got the coolest Mandalorian gear you've ever seen because she spray painted it to look like, and that was like Sabine's thing. So we know, I think, instantly as soon as we see something that Sabine owns, whether we see her or not in
yeah.
this series, and it's possible, because again, if they're going to unite all Mandalorians, Sabine Wren is very much a Mandalorian. Um,
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna know that it's Sabine's as soon as we see something that belongs to her.
Exactly.
It's apparent.
I, I think the two most likely options are it is the Imperial Remnant trying to blame the Mandalorians for this, and that way the New Republic go after them, or the Imperial Mandalorians are the ones who rescue them. I think those are the most likely because, and I just have this idea in my head that Moff Gideon is a Mandalorian
Mm.
because he had the dark saber. I don't know where it came from. Ever since I saw him cutting himself out of that TIE fighter, I was like, oh, is he a Mandalorian? It was my first thought, is he a Mandalorian? Now, obviously, we haven't had any confirmation of that, but I just think he's been obsessed with Beskar. He's been obsessed with the dark saber. He obviously has it out uh, for bo-katan. I just feel there's more to this than meets the eye. I think that could be very, very likely. Is it 100%? Who knows? Listen, we're not 100% right all the time, but if we get a little bit of this right, I'd be very happy with that.
I think you will.
Well,
I think you've got something there, but between the theories that you've espoused, I think you've covered it. How it works out, that's how they figure out.
yeah,
But I think that
yeah,
they all sound very likely. That's the Mandalorian anyway. We'll continue to discuss as we go on. I do want to touch on the Bad Batch. We don't have much time, but I do want to touch on
yeah,
it.
no problem.
Last week, huge double header. Last couple of episodes, amazing stuff for anyone who watched it. In the last couple of episodes, some of the headline takeaways we had, obviously, oh, I don't want to talk about it, but I have to. The big headline: Tech RIP question mark.
Big
Died.
question mark.
Yeah,
Big question
big
mark.
question mark. So died saving the Bad Batch after a kind of invasion of an Imperial warship. It went awry when Saw Gerrera showed up. We had not only Saw Gerrera, he wasn't the only kind of Hall of Famer cameo in this episode. We saw Krennic, the creator of the Death Star, show up for a meeting with Moff Tarkin. So we're getting like a proper, like we're getting like all the hits being played here as well. Royce Hemlock obviously captured Omega. That's another prediction that we got right last week. Captured Omega, and then we kind of got the revelation at the end of the episode that the person who is working to help Royce Hemlock kind of work on the clones, including Crosshair, is Omega's sister. And then obviously we had Sid, not a completely unexpected heel turn, but a heartbreaking one anyway, that basically led Royce Hemlock to the door and led to the capture of Omega. Your overall thoughts on the episodes? Did it live up to the hype? Because we were very much buzzing for it, because I think this has been an excellent season of television and really put the Bad Batch on the map and really earned its place among the great Star Wars TV shows after this season. Did the finale live up to the hype though?
Definitely. For me, the first season was good. I thought it was very good, and then you get to the end of the finale of the first season, was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This season to me it's up there with Rebels and with Clone Wars. It's that good.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. So we were expecting big things from this double header, and we got it. Now, obviously, very heartbreaking moment where Tech is like, no, and we were kind of thinking, what was order
Project 99.
What was it called? 99. What was the technical?
Project
Thank you.
99.
Yeah, and he shoots the line and he's gone.
And,
now,
and,
if that
and
had
the,
if it
the,
had
the
just
immortal, we have to call out the immortal line. Since when have we ever followed orders? Good soldiers follow orders. Tech turn that. Oh my god.
it
Oh,
was
my heart.
amazing. Now, if it had been just left like that, he was dead,
Yeah.
100%. If it, but it wasn't just left like that. It wasn't. The fact that during the second episode, whereas that Hemlock, isn't it? Hemlock?
Yeah, Hemlock.
He threw the goggles at the other two. One, I was convinced, 1,000,000% convinced. No, he's not dead. No,
Okay.
he just threw it at he threw it at them. Oh, your poor friend is dead. No, he's not. No, he is now where Omega is and where Crosshairs is, and they're going to be doing the same experiments on him that they're doing on Crosshairs. That's I'm 1,000,000% certain about that. There is no way Tech is dead. Just not happening. Not happening at all. For me, it's such a good finale. You're looking at it go, Jesus, where are they going with this? It's like, they have Omega. Omega now has a sister. So Omega's not the only clone or not the only person that came from Camino that was a girl. And I'm like, Jesus, what's going on here? I definitely feel your theory is absolutely on the money. They are turning these clone troopers into something different. It's not about orders now, it's about being completely 100% obedient. And that's what this is. And that's what I think the first phase of what you said last week, the first phase of the Dark Troopers. Absolutely fantastic. I know we had the heel turn. It wasn't unexpected. We knew it was coming. Will she redeem herself? Yes.
Okay.
I fully feel she will, because you could see the
regret.
The regret in her face. She was like, I don't want to do this, but I had to do it because it was my neck on the line, basically. No, she will find a way to help them. I 100%. I'm saying it now. She will 100% help them. Tech is not dead. With regards to Crosshairs, I was kind of saying to myself, oh, that maybe they'll rescue him. Maybe that was that, Mission 99, they'll rescue him. Now I'm fairly convinced that Crosshairs is gone, because whatever they're doing to him, it's going to be they're obviously experimenting on all these clones. They were all laid out on these bio beds. I'm like, what the bleeding hell are they doing? I just feel he's gone, and they will try and get him back, but he will be gone. That's it. He'll be gone. They will try and do the same thing to Tech, because I'm telling you, Tech is alive. They're going to try and do the same thing to Tech, but they will be able to get Tech back. I'm telling you now. Omega needs to follow orders, because she was like, you stay hidden. No, I'm going to try and help you. And then she got captured. Like, you stupid little.
Since when have they followed orders, Jerry?
I
Since
know,
when have
but
they followed orders?
I know.
Only
but
good
still.
soldiers follow orders, and they're not good soldiers. They're the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking stuff. And what I really like about the Bad Batch is it's not afraid, and we've seen in the past 2 season finales, they're not happy endings. This show is not about happy endings. This is a bleak, and we spoke about this last week, this is a bleak period in Star Wars history, and they are following that tone. They are not afraid to get bleak, because they don't win for a good, 25 years? Like, that's when the rebellion kind of comes in and they start to get some W's on the board. And we see it through like Rebels, like even like Rebels takes place around a similar enough time period. But like, again, we kind of saw Kanan in the first episode of the Bad Batch. Like, he is a baby. He is a fetus at this time. And he's a grown adult by the time Rebels comes in. But even then, like when that happens in the timeline, the rebellion is still in its infancy and they're not getting many wins. Yeah. So this is when that person who's a grown adult is now a child. This is like when we're speaking. They should be losing regularly, because you have to build up the mystique of the Empire and the power of the Empire as well. And ultimately, unfortunately, that means there's going to be a lot of pain here. And I like how it doesn't shy away from pain. And like, even like, I actually think the opposite of what you think. I don't think Tech is dead. I don't think we've seen the last of him. Okay. So I agree with that. All right. Because again, yeah, like you said, Hemlock has his goggles. Like, I think they've tipped their hat to that, but in a way which kind of leaves us to still question it, because he's motivated and he's spoken about before that he feels like killing clones is a waste. He doesn't want to do that because then he can't experiment on them. Okay. Yeah. So why did he go out of his way to find Tech? And now that we know that he found him, we know he's definitely not dead. But also as well, I think they have to respect what's happened here, because there was that tragic moment where Tech was saying goodbye to Fee, and they kind of hinted that there may be a bit of a romance between them. Whereas Tech we spoke about him like, and part of this season, there's almost been are they representing someone who is maybe a bit neurodiverse through tech? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and he has that conversation, that bonding session with Omega, where Omega's like, why are you not sad about Crosshair? And Omega's like, and Tech is like, I do feel the same feelings you do, but I just communicate them differently. I feel differently to you, but they're the same raw emotions. I don't know how to express them in the same way you do, which kind of made everyone think he's a neurodiverse character. And again, similarly, he doesn't know how to communicate to Fee when she's being like kind of flirting with him. And she's like, she says, so you're going to leave without saying goodbye. And he just turns around. He's like, that is correct. And it was, as tragic as it was when you look back, it was correct. And they need to pay that off. They can't just undo what they've done here, because it's such an effective death that really hammers the point home. So I think the opposite is going to end up happening. I think they get Crosshair back, because we've seen Crosshair. Again, if Crosshair was dead, they'd have ended, or if Crosshair was the Dark Trooper, they'd have ended this episode with that revelation. The fact that they still showed him as what we think could be savable is that shows us that he's still there for the taking. He can be saved. Tech, we don't know. I think it would be more of a heartbreaker if Tech was the first Dark Trooper, and then Tech is the irredeemable. But I do think we're seeing him again. Another theory that I have coming out of this is I think Hemlock is going to be the person who starts working on the Palpatine clone project. I think that's nailed on now, because he is
a million percent.
And then you have him and working with Omega's sister, being fascinated with Omega. Kind of, and the theory is it because her and now her sister, we know, is it because they have midichlorians? And if that's possible, then in theory, we know Palpatine's living around this time, and so there's a lot going on here, and it's a really kind of uncharted territory for Star Wars, where there's a lot to play with. But again, I think the Bad Batch, as amazing as it is, it lives to break your heart. And it was at this stage where I'm like, oh my God, am I going to watch all of these characters die? Is that how this series will end? And I can't turn around and say no. I don't think it's going to end where everyone dies or anything, but it's on the table where nobody is safe, because again, this is not for kids. This is very much like, this is a dark, bleak TV show. But I like that flavor of Star Wars. I think it's really effective.
I think for me, I don't think they're all going to die, because you thought that a lot of the Rebels crew would die, and obviously only one of them did. When it comes to something like Rogue One and Andor, you knew what was happening. You knew exactly where that was going. Nobody was getting out of that alive. It just wasn't happening. But when you look at Rebels, you've got clones in Rebels that have survived. You've got clones in Rebels that have survived all the way to Return of the Jedi and beyond. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that some of them will survive. Do I feel they'll all survive? No. I think one of the big ones could potentially be Omega herself.
Yeah.
Now, whether they kill a child or not, I really don't know.
Who is Omega though, as well? Like that's a whole other question. Like, it's
exactly,
there's so much. Look, I can't wait, but we're gonna be waiting like 2 years, because animated shows take forever to get made. But look, amazing stuff, and I can't wait to parse all out with you. But we don't have to wait 2 years for the next episode of Star Gears. That's coming next week. Jerry Soul, an absolute pleasure as always, and I can't wait to round off this season and see it. Mind yourself and get well soon.